The story of Milo is something we should all be familiar with. As far as us Jamaicans are concerned, Milo is just a food drink. However, the Milo I want us to talk about today is Milo of Croton, a Greek athlete. And this is very important in understanding how muscle is built. You see, in preparation for the Olympics, Milo decided that he would carry a newborn calf from the farm up a hill and back down again to his home. And he would do this every day for the next 4 years until the Olympics came. So by that time, he was carrying a 4-year-old cow. The principle here, we're not interested in whether or not the story is real. However, we know that the principle of oneness of mind, he was dedicated to the cause, he chose his method, and he stuck to it. His consistency over the 4 years, his progressive overload. The progressive overload being that as time went on, Milo would carry a cow that was growing in both size and was, of course, increasing in weight. And so he had to overcome those difficulties, but not in one go. It didn't suddenly become a calf to a cow overnight. This was a daily process. And so today I'd like you guys to keep that in mind as we discuss how we build muscle and as we discuss how that contributes to fat loss. In the previous capsule, we looked briefly at what fat is. We discussed some potential pitfalls and things to avoid when trying to lose fat on our way to becoming carnivore ready. One of the things that I would like to look at today is a very important tool in our arsenal to being a fat burning furnace, and that is how we build muscle. Let's discuss what a muscle is in the first place, how do we go about building muscle, and again, what pitfalls to avoid if we intend to gain muscle and gradually to burn fat. Before we discuss what a muscle is, remember our end goal is to lose body fat. And so let's go over what body fat is. And that is adipose tissue, which is basically excess energy that is stored subcutaneously or under the skin or viscerally or around the organs. The reason why this is bad is because it poses some health issues and it takes us further away from a desired look for some people. Muscle, on the other hand, unlike fat, is biologically expensive tissue, whilst fat is, you could say, cheap tissue. And we say fat is cheap tissue because there is little to no resistance to the absorption of fat. Muscles, on the other hand, the body isn't particularly designed to handle an excess of muscle. And so an excess of calories and other resources are going to be needed to help those muscles function. Now, muscles are soft tissue that enable movement. They are attached to bones and they essentially pull on our bones, which helps us to move. Right now, my speech is being enabled by muscles. My fingers that type some of the text for this YouTube video are also used by muscles. One of the problems with observing muscle hypertrophy or muscle growth is that there isn't exactly a way to put a camera in the body and observe the muscle in action and the different mechanisms that elicit growth. There are several myths and theories surrounding how exactly muscle grows. One of the prevailing ones is that the fat is broken down and then it turns into muscle. The reality is that muscle growth is heavily debated in the fitness industry. But I know you are looking for a straightforward answer. And to be honest with you, unfortunately, isn't always that clear cut. But what we can agree on thus far is that mechanical tension is a driver of muscle growth. And what that means is that the weight or the load should force you to slow down in spite of your efforts to move the weight as fast as possible. So if you leave this video with nothing, you may leave with this formula. Force equal mass times acceleration. And what that means is that any load that you are moving to elicit muscle growth must be moved as fast as you can. The lighter the load, the faster you'll be able to move it. And the more reps you'll be able to do. Which leads me to another myth that some rep ranges are for muscle growth and others are not for muscle growth, they're for strength. It was long believed that bodybuilders or anybody in particular couldn't train in the 3 to 5 rep range and expect muscle growth. But this has been proven to be false. And so what I want you guys to walk away with from this video is that whenever you enter the gym, you should aim to lift that load with as much acceleration as you can humanly put out. If you find that the weight is too easy, you may want to increase the load to reduce the amount of reps that you have to do. Muscle growth is caused by a variety of factors. Some of these factors include hormones, nutrition, and a stimulus. We as humans, whilst we can contribute all three, we're going to focus mainly on providing the stimulus and the nutrition. To build muscle, there must first be a stimulus. And the main way we do that is by lifting against resistance. If I wanted the biceps to grow, I would have to do an exercise that would force the biceps to move. One such exercise is a bicep curl or a curl of any kind. And I have to curl again against resistance. So that resistance could be anything. It could be a friend trying to prevent you from lifting your arm. It could be a dumbbell that's heavy, grocery bags, your knapsack. It could be a kettlebell, a barbell, whatever you choose. But as long as you are moving muscle against resistance, repetitively and with enough resistance, you have provided stimulus for muscle growth. Whether or not this stimulus will bear fruit depends largely on everything else that you do surrounding that stimulus, and of course the intensity and duration of the stimulus. Last video we discussed fat loss, right? And we can describe fat loss as the desired adaptation from our training. In that video we discussed aerobics as one of the stimulus that you can use to achieve the adaptation of fat loss. In this video, we're basically trying to achieve muscle growth or muscle hypertrophy. And the stimulus for that is resistance training. Having more muscle allows your body to burn more fat potentially. This does not mean that having muscle automatically makes you lean. Your body, as I said before, it considers muscle to be a biologically expensive tissue. Some people are capable of consuming even more calories, despite the amount of calories that their muscles burn at rest. So in all of this, even if you're trying to build muscle, you should have a slight caloric deficit. That means not eating under 250 to 500 calories more than you need. And if you are going to be in a caloric deficit, I would strongly suggest that you increase your protein intake. How muscles work is that they need to recover. They grow whilst in recovery. They do not grow in the gym. And so majority of your time should be spent resting from your gym sessions. You should be training hard, but after 45 minutes to an hour, your glycogen levels, generally speaking, they tend to be fully depleted. So working out in the gym for 2-3 hours isn't beneficial for you if your goal is solely muscle growth. Don't worry about the amount of sets or reps you're doing right now. I would say start with 3 sets of 10. If you're having trouble recovering from that workout within 72 hours, then reduce the reps or reduce the amount of sets that you do. There's no one size fits all approach to muscle growth, and there's no need to complicate it because the number one driver of muscle growth will always be mechanical tension. And if you are a hard worker, you will tend to see results more so than those who try to scientifically program their way into muscle growth. So the key takeaway is once you enter the gym, choose 1 or 2 exercises for each body part, do them with all your might on that day, and always aim to do better with each workout. Now remember, this discussion, although about building muscle, our end goal is to lose fat and be carnivore ready. So I want you to think of fat loss in 2 ways, a savings and an investment component. You can save towards fat loss by doing cardio, by engaging in aerobic activity, because the body's preferred source of fuel for aerobic activity is fat, and it would make sense to do that. Another way to look at it is that you can also invest in your fat loss journey by building muscle. You won't build muscle today, but every day you go to the gym, every day you make efforts to build muscle, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis becomes more favorable to fat loss. You also increase your BMR. So as you develop these new habits, as you go to the gym and try to add muscle building to your fat loss arsenal, bear in mind that it's an investment. Do not look for results today, giving about 6 to 8 weeks to start seeing good results. This is our fat loss journey, and building muscle is just one means to that end. What we've learned so far is that fat is biologically cheap tissue, muscle is biologically expensive. And for muscle to grow, it needs stimulus, it needs hormones, it needs a good diet, and it needs sleep. Everyone responds to varying degrees to these stimulus, which is resistance training in the case of muscle growth. And we should learn to observe and make adjustments according to our needs. I've enjoyed our time on YouTube so far. Interestingly, I've come to realize that 269 of you watched the video. You joined in on the action. 25% of you subscribed, so that's about 66, 67 subscribers. 15% of you liked the video. That's about 41 likes thereabout. And honestly, it's way more than I expected. And I'm really grateful you guys joined in, took the time out of your busy schedule. You could be doing anything else, and you joined me on my journey on YouTube. Since you guys are the ones keeping the lights on around here, I want to know what you liked about the video. Didn't like anything? Get in the comments. Go wild. Don't hold back. I have a lot to say on this platform, and I want as many people as possible to hear it. Like, comment, subscribe as usual. Catch you guys soon. In the meantime, let's get our best body yet.